Hello there, welcome to Vodcast 1.2. Today we're talking about characteristics of living things. You can tell my voice has gotten a hair better, but well, really not much. And unfortunately my face isn't really much better to look at either, so you guys are out of luck. But here we go anyway. So, characteristics of living things. So in class you guys made a list of everything that was living and non-living, and you guys generated this list and you had to come up with some categories as to why you thought the living things were living. So we're going to go through the things that actually make a living organism living. So let's get started. All right, so characteristics of living things. Remember, you're taking your notes down in Cornell format. So if you guys haven't gotten that set up yet, you want to pause the video here and get your note sheet all set up, and we'll continue. All right, so very first thing, no matter what it is, every single thing on the entire planet, if it's living, it's made of cells. Some little creatures, like pictured here on the PowerPoint, some are just made of single cells, such as the amoeba, which is on the left. It's actually a shapeshifter. It'll actually change its shape to consume its food, which is pretty wild for a single-celled creature. On the right, you're basically looking at an individualized plant cell, but it's also surrounded by thousands and millions of other plant cells, right? Lots of cells. So some creatures are one cell, some creatures are multiple cells. Move. Every single creature moves typically in some way. Now, a lot of things are obvious, like the video I'm about to show you, but some things aren't so obvious. A lot of people say, well, plants don't move, right? Grass doesn't move, trees don't move, you don't see trees running. Now, a couple words of advice before I move on. If you see a tree running, run the other way. That is not normal. Not normal at all. All right, moving on. So, moving, right? Lots of creatures move. So here's one of my chickens, all right? One of 12 or 18 or whatever we're up to now. So, little chicken, and he can move around, okay? Now, moving on. Metabolism. Now, you guys have this crazy metabolism typically your age, which is where you guys go in and you literally eat your entire refrigerator, maybe even the refrigerator itself, and usually come in the next day and you've lost weight. Enjoy that while you can, because as you get older, that disappears pretty quick. All right, and metabolism basically is your ability to process energy. It's your ability to burn energy, use energy, all right? Now, a couple of things. In animals, you ingest food, you digest it, and then you excrete the waste. Don't really think you need to go into details about excreting waste, though we will talk about it later. And plants actually go through a process called photosynthesis to make their own food, and then eventually they'll break it down and digest it, similar to us, in a process called cell respiration, which again, we'll talk about later. So every living thing basically has to do some process to get energy. Excrete. Well, and I want to show you a video of that because, well, who wants to see a video of somebody excreting? Not me. So instead, I did the next best thing, and I took a gigantic picture of a very large pile of excretion for my horses. And to give you an idea of how big that pile is, the tractor, well, the rear tire, it's almost as tall as I am. So, a couple of things. First off, excretion is actually part of metabolism. It's included. Now, we do this to get rid of waste. Wastes are bad for our body. So a couple of things. So when we digest our food, all the food that you couldn't process, all right, goes into your feces. Now, your miracle question of the day, which is the disgusting question but interesting question. Does anybody know why your poop is brown? I'm not going to tell you the answer yet. I can make you wait. Now, your urine, all right, your blood gets filtered by your kidneys all day long, all night long. The toxins that get pulled out of your blood eventually make it to your urine, which is also excreted as waste. And a not so disgusting one, carbon dioxide. You guys breathe out. You exhale waste. You exhale CO2. You actually exhale vapor, H2O, water. Moving along here. Reproduction. Again, sorry, not giving you a video on that. But there's two types. So you got sexual reproduction, which involves two, all right, of the same organism to be successful. And asexual reproduction is just one organism that actually just divides typically. So sometimes the organism can actually will just go from one and just divide into two, like the picture shows you in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Sometimes certain plants, you can actually cut the plant and just replant it, and it grows. But it's still the same plant. You just cut it apart. And you can get different plants. It's still asexual because no other plant was involved but the original plant. Now, respiration. All right, respiration is done inside the cell. It's not just breathing. This is the one that students have the most trouble with. You think about respiration, you think about lungs, right? So you breathe in, you breathe out, right? You think of that as respiration. Does grass have lungs? Do plants have lungs? Do trees have lungs? Do amoebas, protists, bacteria, fungus? None of these creatures have lungs. And again, go with the advice I told you before. If you see any of these things I just mentioned that have lungs, run. Now, so how do everything else on the planet, how does it actually do respiration? Pretty much this. Their cells will process energy through a process called cellular respiration, which we'll talk about in detail later in this unit. Cellular respiration, in the short though, basically allows an organism to take in some food product, break it down, and convert it to energy. And that's what we refer to as respiration. During that process, does the organism burn oxygen? Yes. Do they give off CO2? Yes. And your lungs obviously help you with that because you're a very complex creature. But the not so complex creatures, well, they do it also. Cruising along here. Responding to the environment. So basically, think of it as stimulus response, cause and effect. All right, so an example, insects flying by causes a frog to leap forward and get an insect. Another example, we'll actually run a little experiment here at home. Show you a quick little video. All right, I'll be quiet for this part. Now, if you watch carefully the video, so this is some maintenance footage. All right, security cameras. Notice there's 4 cameras. 2 of the cameras appear pretty well lit. You can see most of the stuff. You just saw the janitor move through. You've got obviously the other camera. If you look pretty closely at some of these videos, you really notice it's kind of hard to see. Oh! Now, some of you may just jumped. Maybe some of you now need to go to the bathroom. I'm not really sure. If you need to hit the pause button for any of those reasons, you may do so. Okay. Basically, cause and effect. All right, that's really what we're going for. So if you were concentrating on the video and all of a sudden this thing comes out of nowhere and it scares you, cause and effect, stimulus response. Basically, it's what keeps you alive. Sometimes you guys have almost walked into a car or a bus or the wall and you've jumped back and you didn't know why. Cause and effect. All right, if you've ever burned yourself, most times you don't put your hand on the stove, go, oh, I smell my hand burning, and pull it off. No, it's more like you touch something that's too hot and you pull your hand back right away and then you think about it. That's because of stimulus and response. Because, again, your body's job is to respond to its environment. It's trying to protect you at all times. Almost done. So, very last thing. Grow. You all grow. You guys grow crazy amounts, especially at this point in your age. I'm done growing, thank God, because I don't need to be any taller than 6'2". I'm good. So you grow, and some things are really, really obvious, like us. Some things will change shapes through metamorphosis, like caterpillars, all right, going to butterflies or moths. So they actually undergo a complete body change. And then other things, like I said before, just get larger. So you may see something like a seed pictured below here. Once a seed grows into the basic structure of a plant, the plant pretty much just gets to a bigger version of itself. So a pine tree, when it starts out as a little sapling, that pine tree eventually just starts to look more like a larger version of its previous self. All right, and remember merg. So, beginning knows how this thing merg. You're probably like, what the heck is merg? Right, merg is pretty basic. The M, the E, the R, and the G all stand for a characteristic of living things. So it's a mnemonic device. So if we go back and recap here real quick, and I'm going to go all the way back here. All right. So if we go back, so MERG, let's run through it, right? So you'll see, bottom corner again, made of cells, there's your first M. Move, second M. Skip the chickens. Third M, metabolism. Then we go to the E of MERG, which is excrete. We got 3 R's, reproduce, respiration, and respond. And last but not least, the G, not the eyeballs, but the G is grow for MERG. So again, all of those things should help you out. Hope you guys do good. Hope you got your notes down. Don't forget to check your notes for homework. And in class, we'll be working with some little protozoa under the microscope to observe some of these characteristics that we talked about today. All right, have a good night.